Hi, welcome to Blockbuster Video. I'm Robert Fithen, and usually on my channel I'm talking about records and music, but for this video series I thought I'd change things up and talk about 80s horror movies. Now, I used to be quite the movie fanatic, and I mean a total fanatic. I'm talking about video cards from like every video store from every town I've ever been to. Oh, Whiz Bam in St. Louis, I remember them. Video City. I used to work for Blockbuster too for a while when I was in my early 20s. Blockbuster didn't used to be on a network. You had to have a different card for every store, so I've acquired quite a few of those. Anyway, yeah, so I thought I'd talk about some 80s horror movies. I used to do like a horror movie marathon every October and watch, you know, the great ones, The Shining, the Halloween series, you know, the Omen trilogy, Nightmare on Elm Street, The Evil Dead, the Hellraiser, all the great ones. But for this video, I thought I'd concentrate more on the lesser talked about ones, kind of like the B movies, but you've probably seen them all anyway. Let's start off with Prom Night, as you can see the poster back there, starring Scream Queen Jamie Lee Curtis. The movie starts off with a bunch of little kids playing a bizarre game of hide and go seek, where the killer is coming, the killer is coming. They all keep chanting, the killer is coming.
Killers are coming. Killers are coming. Killers are coming. Killers are coming.
Yeah, looks like the killer came. Cut to 10 years later, the kids are all in their teens now, ready for prom night coming up, except for this girl. The closest she can get to a date, unfortunately, is a heavy breather on the phone.
Jude,
Yes?
can you come out to play tonight? I'll see you at the prom.
Still no date. Getting closer, though.
And then there's a new guy in town, in a van.
Hey, beautiful, need a lift?
No thanks.
Come on, I won't bite.
So who are you?
Seymour Crane. But, they call me Slick.
Damn, I would have stuck with the heavy breather on the phone. So soon strange things start coming, and beyond just the weird phone calls that everybody's getting, the girls start finding pictures of themselves with broken mirror shards on them. Just strange stuff happening. Who could be behind all this? Is it the new guy with the van? Is it the escaped sex offender that just got loose from the asylum? Could it be the creepy looking janitor? Maybe it's the ghost of the girl they threw out the window. Good thing the police are on the case, including the chief, who's seemingly always on the phone, just talking to people, and also Leslie Nielsen as the principal of the high school. This is back when Leslie Nielsen was doing serious roles. This isn't like The Naked Gun or something. He's serious.
Principal by day.
That dancing is serious. That's serious dancing from Leslie Nielsen. There's also a scene in this movie that might remind you of Carrie, as the meathead teams up with the hot girl for some reason and seeks revenge on the prom queen, this time Jamie Lee Curtis. And yeah, there's a scene at the prom with all this disco dancing, and it's an extended scene. And I mean extended. I don't know when the last time I saw such graceless disco dancing was. I don't know if there's a disco dance called the chop or something. This is, wow, and it goes on and on and on. It does make me want to dance on a lighted disco floor, though. I've always wanted to do some disco dancing on a lighted disco floor. Now, I should mention I'm not going to do any spoilers in this video for those that may not have seen these movies from 45 years ago or whatever, but I will say there's a lot of misdirection in the movie Prom Night. There's a lot of red herrings that pop up, and yeah, that happens in a lot of horror movies. You know, you got to keep guessing who the killer is. But in this movie, a lot of them seem to be specifically only for the audience watching the movie, which is kind of a cheat. I'm not going to give away the ending, but I will say the killer when it's revealed in the end, they are wearing something that doesn't make any sense except for to throw the viewing audience off. So, Prom Night, classic Jamie Lee Curtis slasher film. Not a lot of slashing going on in like the first hour of it, but it does make up for that with one scene in particular, right there on the walkway of the prom king and queen where they're supposed to be walking. Again, not going to give it away. I also can't show a lot of gory scenes in this video, so there's not going to be a lot of blood and guts. I like I said, my channel, I'm used to talking about music and records. I don't know what's allowed as far as blood and guts and violence, so I don't want to get thrown off YouTube, so I won't be showing any of that. But I definitely recommend, for some great 1980s slasher horror, to check out Prom Night. The next movie, also from 1980, has to do with some toxic kids. It's called The Children. And these children are, yeah, they're not just bratty kids. They're not just evil kids. They are toxic children, like I said. The movie starts off with the best bus driver in the world as the kids are singing.
Here's to the bus driver, the best of them all. Here's to the bus driver, the best of them all.
Now, this bus driver is so terrific, he drives the kids right through a toxic mist. Suddenly, the kids have disappeared, the bus driver's nowhere to be found, and a couple of days later, when they do finally reappear, they're in a cemetery walking around like zombies with black fingernails and a full record collection of Bauhaus. The bus driver is, he's dead. He's on the ground. He looks like somebody's thrown acid all over him, but what's actually happened is the kids touched him. Now these children, when they hug you or touch you, your flesh just burns and melts and you die. Now, I've never been much of a hugging person. To me, there's really, it's annoying, those people that walk around always wanting hugs. So I could totally relate to the girl in this scene, just trying to get away from this weird kid trying to hug her. But unfortunately, she does not.
What's the matter with you, Paul? Cut it out! Stop it!
You know, they say that hugs are better than drugs. I think I'd actually prefer the drugs. And speaking of things on a counter, this has nothing to do with the plot of the movie or bratty kids or whatever. This has to do with that thing that's on the counter. Do you see that thing? The last couple of times I've watched this movie a while back, me and the people I was watching it with, we tried to figure out what that thing on the counter is. It used to be on store counters back in the early 80s and late. I remember it as a kid, basically. And I could not remember, and neither could the other people, what that is. So if you know what that thing on the counter is, please let me know in the comments. It's kind of blurry when you blow it up and hard to see, but I'd really like to know what that thing on the counter is. It's bringing back some memories. I just can't remember what it is. Now, slowly the adults in town are kind of catching on to what's going on, including the brother of John Travolta from Saturday Night Fever, the guy that was a priest and then didn't want to be a priest. Yeah, he's in this too. He walks up to his daughter. I mean, it's his daughter, right? He just wants to shake her hand, and bam, now his hand is burned. By the way, do not do what he's doing. Do not put a burned hand like that in ice water. You know, toxic waste is one thing. Killer kids, that's fine. But a movie that has somebody putting a burned hand in ice water, that's just irresponsible filmmaking. You don't want to do that. And trust me, I know, because I Googled it. So that guy, he doesn't know what to do. The sheriff, he's figured out at this point that firing a full-on shotgun at the kids doesn't do anything. So it's time to get medieval on their ass. So what can possibly stop these kids that are walking around wanting to hug everybody with black fingernails? You'll just have to watch the movie The Children to find out. Up next, City of the Living Dead, also from 1980. Now, this movie also went by the name The Gates of Hell, and I remember being in school. This was like a notorious movie. It was like a rite of passage to see this movie. It's not that popular of a movie. It's an Italian horror movie from Fulci, and if you're not familiar with his work or Italian movies in general, they can be quite over the top. They can be quite gross, quite gruesome. But I remember this movie was as popular as like Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street in my school. The video store had 2 copies of it. They were both always checked out. Everybody was always talking about this movie and could you make it all the way through it? And it was the grossest movie ever or whatever. I don't know if that happened in other towns or not, but it definitely happened in my hometown when I was going to school. So yeah, I had to throw City of the Living Dead, aka The Gates of Hell, in here. And it starts off with a seance. What's happened is a priest has hanged himself. And apparently when that happens, the gates of hell open. You know, we're just going to go with it. Those are the rules. Priest hangs himself, gates of hell opens. That's how it is. It starts off in New York City at a seance. And all of a sudden, freaky things start happening. You would think it's a seance, so freaky things are supposed to happen, but these people are terrified anyway, and there's been murders going on and people getting killed. The police are on the scene now. What's happening?
The killer is...
Sergeant, come here and look!
Okay, you cannot just reveal the name of the killer in the first 10 minutes of the movie, or you'll apparently be fired, as it shows there in City of the Living Dead. Now we continue as one of the people in the seance. She reveals some shocking secrets from her childhood.
When I was 8 years old, I wanted to marry my father. I guess all girls that age want to marry their fathers.
Is that true? I don't know if that's true or not. Is that true? Put it in the comments if that's the way you felt as a child. I would really like to know if that's true or not. But yeah, things keep happening, strange things. You got the dead walking around. You've got people going crazy. A lot of people start blaming each other.
He's a sick and lonely kid.
Oh, sure. So says the woman who wanted to marry her father. That we're really throwing stones in a glass house there. She later dies, but it's okay. She's not really dead. But the funeral home decided to go ahead and bury her, obviously without checking out very well if she's dead or not. But yeah, she starts clawing her way out of the coffin. And if you know funeral homes, you know that they actually ended up charging her for the damage she caused to her own coffin when they buried her alive. That's a funeral home. So yeah, bizarre things continue to happen. People start getting upset with each other and putting drills through their heads. People start walking around. People start throwing up their entire entrails, just throwing up and throwing up and I mean, I definitely cannot show that scene. People start taking revenge on other people. You still got the dead people walking around. You got people grabbing people by the brains. Dead people coming back and the ceiling starts bleeding. You got a woman bleeding from her eyes. And just like Ferris Bueller's sister, her parents still made her go to school. That's probably the most horrific thing in this entire movie. Now, there are a couple people who think they might have figured out what was going on, so they think that it has something to do with this priest. Let's go find the priest in the town he's in, and let's go try to dig him up, and they find out he's not there anymore, and what's going on? This town's full of money grabbers. Go ahead, bite the big apple. Don't mind the maggots. Shattered. Actually, they left the Big Apple to go to this place called Dunwich. I actually got that part wrong. But yeah, this movie is absolutely gross. Just like I said, a lot of these Italian movies, like the Cannibal, Fair Oaks, and stuff like it's all the same type of just over-the-top gore. But yeah, this movie will always have a special place with me just because of the school in my hometown. We all had to watch this movie at one point or another. Again, it can be City of the Living Dead. It can be The Gates of Hell. But if you're in for something that's a little extreme and you've never seen it and you want to see, like I said, all these different wild things going on, including somebody vomiting their entire insides, check it out. As we move on to our next movie, which is a little classier. It's a little more of an A-grade horror movie called The Changeling, starring George C. Scott. Now, this movie starts out with he and his wife and child. They're driving. The car breaks down. It's on a real slick, snowy, icy road. He goes into a phone booth to call for help and leaves his wife and child out to kind of play. They're throwing snowballs, and all of a sudden, here comes a truck barreling down the road. It's going to crash into this other car. What do we do? Yeah, I'm not sure why their solution was just to lay down in the snow. I would think the thing to do would be to get out of the way of the truck and not just lay down in its path, but different strokes for different folks. But unfortunately, they died doing that. So now George C. Scott is very sad. And yeah, this, like I said, this is a very more of a psychological thriller. It's not a, like a gory slasher movie or something like that. It is more of a grade A type horror movie. It's got kind of a slow burn to it. It's a nice popcorn kind of, chill out and soak in the atmosphere kind of horror movie with this sad piano music playing. It starts off pretty sad, so it's got this sad kind of piano music playing, and in a shocking twist, we find out it was Patton playing the sad piano music the whole time. Now, very similar to the movie I just talked about, The Hearse, another haunted house movie where he moves into this new house all alone, by the way. He's a music professor. He the wife and kid are obviously out of the picture, and he hasn't remarried or anything. But he feels as though he needs this huge, like 3-story mansion to live in all by himself. I don't know why that's happening. I also don't know why the doors are closing, lights are going off and on. There's big, huge sounds happening, and to top it all off, a ball rolls down the stairs. Yikes. Also, just like in the hearse, a lot of people act like they don't want him in this house. As a matter of fact, some woman straight up tells him the house doesn't want him there. So I don't know what he's going to do, but yeah, he decides to have a seance. Just like in City of the Living Dead. He gets a bunch of people together, he tries to channel what's happening in this house, and a woman, via, that automatic writing, figures out that it's a child. It's the ghost of a child doing all of this. Now, just to get some artifacts of this, George C. Scott decides to record everything on tape. As a matter of fact, it's a reel-to-reel tape.
What is your name?
Ampex reel-to-reel tape. Now, that's some audiophile shit right there. Respect. Tape like that. The tape of that ghost costs you $500 right now. That's a little audiophile reel-to-reel joke for the people that are from my vinyl community channel that are watching this right now. Now, the plot goes on, and he figures out that the ghost of the little boy was actually murdered in the house. I'm not going to say by who or why or any of that stuff. But he was actually murdered in the house and then taken somewhere else and buried in a well. Now, the location of the well, all of these years later, has had a house built on top of it. So he goes to this woman's house, who he doesn't know, he's never met before, and tells her, hey, I think the body of a child is buried under your house in a well. Can I go ahead and saw through the floor? And the woman's like, yeah, all right, sure. The Changeling has some great plot twists. It's a great haunted house, spooky kind of movie. The typical, like I said, lights going off and on, balls rolling down the stairs, doors opening and closing, spirits whispering to you, little kid ghost type of thing. And the twist in the end, when you finally figure out what's going on, actually makes sense. It's a good ending. And it's like I said, it's very slow though. It's not the big roller coaster ride of a movie. It's very slow burn, very atmospheric, and it is 1980. But it's got some great acting in it, top-notch actors, obviously, with George C. Scott and company. And I would recommend that if you want something a little bit slower, more involved, with a big plot, and you just want to kind of sit back and not have, blood and guts flying all over the screen. It does have, obviously, some jump scares, though, being a haunted house type movie. Altered States, our final movie from 1980. Also one of those kind of grade A horror movies, not the cut 'em, slash 'em up type. But this is another one of those kind of psychodrama things where William Hurt, top-notch actor, is in this, and he is all about finding out where our our Neanderthal minds are. He wants to go all the way back to the beginning, before we were dressed and all. You know what? I'll let him explain it to you.
I think that true self, that original self, that first self, is a real, mensurate, quantifiable thing, tangible and incarnate. And I'm going to find the fucker.
Yeah, what he said. So the movie, in the beginning, they're at a party. He's trying to explain all this stuff. And the Doors' Light My Fire is playing in the background. Now, I think it would have been a lot better if they were playing Break On Through. Because that's what he wants to do. He wants to break on through to the primal, instincts of a human. Anyway, so yeah, minor point there. But the Altered States, another one of those movies that'll play with your mind and get you thinking and all of this kind of stuff. This guy hates marriage, by the way. One of the things, he can't stand marriage. He feels it's a trap. He gets married, and then the next scene, he's already thinking about divorce, and he gets divorced, but the wife still sticks around in the movie and helps him out. They've actually got a kid too. The kid's not seen very much, so you don't have to worry about that. But he's a lot of yelling going on, a lot of arguing. He gets this deprivation tank. He tries to get in and goes into his primal urges, and he actually starts to sort of change and shape. He has to, change in shape. He basically turns into like an ape man, like from caveman days, and running around naked, and attacking animals, you know, and just the primal urges to eat and sleep and survive. He basically is running around naked this whole time, so I can't really show you any of that on YouTube, but just imagine a naked guy who looks nothing like William Hurt, completely covered in hair with his ass out. That's the Altered States, the middle of the movie. Now, the deprivation tank, they start to suspect that, you know, maybe he just hit his head or something like that, and that's why he's got goat blood all over him. Makes sense to me. But the great thing about this movie, and I wish I could see this in a theater, are the special effects sequences. When he's in the tank and what he's supposed to be seeing, it's all this rapid fire kind of psychedelic visuals going on. And then all of a sudden they're studying other people, and this little girl says something that fans of the band Ministry might recognize.
I feel like my heart is being touched by Christ.
And then we get more like psychedelic visuals coming at us. His body continues to change now, even outside of the deprivation tank. He's just writing something and his arm starts changing into like a caveman arm. He thinks it's pretty funny though, so that's cool. But yeah, is it a hallucination? Is it real? Check out Altered States for something a little more cerebral. Those incredible hallucinatory, like psychedelic special effects. And something that might make you think a little bit. Again, our final movie from 1980 as we move on to 1981 and Bloody Birthday. These kids were all born the same time during a solar eclipse. A solar eclipse is happening, and 3 kids are born during that time in the same town. Now, these kids are absolutely evil, and it has something to do with the solar eclipse. Now, I've experienced the solar eclipse. I'm sure you have too. It happened about, what, 5 years ago, something like that? I always thought that when a solar eclipse happened, it happened all over the world, but apparently it only happens in one town in this movie. And it's when these 3 kids are born, and that's why they're evil, going around just basically killing people. In fact, a teenage couple has been killed in a graveyard, and Officer Friendly shows up to the 3rd grade class and wants to know who knows something. I mean, I know that happened in my class. Whenever there was a murder or a homicide, Officer Friendly would show up in the 3rd grade and be like, you know, hey, somebody in this fucking room knows something, and ain't nobody leaving until somebody spills what they know.
I'm sure some of you have heard that Annie Smith and Duke Benson have been murdered. Were any of you in the cemetery last night?
We get to the nudity pretty early in this movie, too, as the little girl, there's an evil little girl and then 2 evil little boys. Well, the evil little girl has bored a hole in the wall of her room so she can peep through to her sister undressing, and then charge the little boys for a peep show. I believe it's $0.25 for the first minute, $0.10 for each additional minute. You think I'm kidding?
For $0.25. If you want to see more, it's an extra $0.10. Okay.
Yeah, I was not kidding. I mean, these kids are downright evil. They're not concerned. I mean, they'll kill their own parents. They're killing their own sisters. They're killing everybody. I mean, locking kids in refrigerators, which you don't do that. Yeah, and the thing that sets this movie apart from most of the like cut 'em up, slash 'em up movies is this movie features a gun. One of the little kids, this little Curtis bastard, has a big ass, I mean, his little hand has this big ass gun, and he just shoots people. He's got no time for walking up to somebody and stabbing them. He just shoots them. And he's shooting at the one girl has kind of figured out what's going on. And he tricks her. He makes her think that he's poisoned the birthday cake in this scene. But really, he's just made her look like a completely irrational person in front of like the entire town, because for some reason, it looks like the entire town has shown up for this kid's birthday party.
What's the matter?
cake? What have you got behind your back? What did you do?
Nothing.
Don't eat that cake. Curtis, poison the icing. Don't eat that cake. Don't eat the cake. Curtis, poison the Don't eat it. Curtis poisoned the icing. Don't eat the cake.
Curtis, he poisoned the... I wasn't doing nothing. The poison was just sitting on the counter. I was putting it away.
You were not, you little liar.
Watch what you're saying. He never told a lie in his life.
Oh my God, do you know parents or grandparents like that? This child has never told a lie in his entire life. Fun fact, all children have told a lie sometime in their entire life. This kid has never told a lie in his entire life. That is the most naive thing that is said in any of these movies I'm going to talk about today, and it's absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, he fooled the girl. Now everybody thinks she's crazy, so he's got her right where he wants her. Well, and then he's going to shoot at her. Now, for some reason, he's been able to pull off every kill so far with like super precision. All of them have, actually. They haven't been caught. They're keeping a scrapbook of the people they've killed. Everything's been going great. But for some reason, he keeps missing now in the end of the movie. And he's just shooting. Oh, whoa! Oh my God, he shot Van Halen! I can't even watch anymore. If you like movies with evil little kids, and not the kind in the movie The Children where they're zombified and they're just walking around like this and they're not really kids anymore, they're like zombies. If you want like the evil kids that are like fully like mentally capable and they're just absolutely evil, then definitely check out Bloody Birthday. And it's not really a bloody birth. I mean, it doesn't really have any. I mean, there's a birthday scene in it, and they're born on the same day, but it doesn't really have all that much to do with the birthday. But I digress. We stay in 1981 for another little evil kid. This movie is called The Pit, and the main little kid, there's just one. He's Jamie, and he has found this, well, huge pit, and these things live in it, and they look like they could be like wild boars or some kind of hairy little animals. Of course, their shape kind of changes later in the... I don't want to give it away, but it doesn't make any sense to call them boars or wild pigs or whatever when you see them in the end. But yeah, anyway, he's found this pit, and he's been feeding these things. They can't get out of the pit, so he just goes and visits them because he's got no friends. Nobody likes him for some reason. He is a kind of a weird kid. But, I mean, he's a nice kid, you know, to people. I mean, in this scene, he just walks up to this dude and basically asks to be his friend.
Hi. Are you Freddie Phelps?
Yeah? Who are you?
I'm Jamie. I was wondering if I could join your club and...
And gets punched right in the fucking face for it. I mean, I went to a tough school, and I don't remember, you know, walking up to somebody, hey, can I join your club, and just getting punched in the face. Of course, I never walked up to anybody. I was smart enough not to ask people to join their club. But yeah, Jamie gets punched in the face. He gets made fun of by everybody.
Hi there, Jamie. Want to try my bike?
Well, sure, if you don't mind.
Sure, I'm sure. Go ahead.
What on earth is going on here?
I let Jamie try my bike, and I didn't tell him that it wasn't all in one piece.
That reminds me of the scene from Porky's. Yeah, this kid just can't catch a break. Even little girls are just wailing on this kid and making him feel stupid. So he does have a sympathetic babysitter, though, that comes over to the house.
Come on. It's bedtime and bath time as well. Let's go.
Will you wash my back?
Now, obviously, he's a little too old to be getting bathed by his babysitter, and she's obviously going to tell him that, you know, that's not going... Oh.
Can two people fall in love
okay.
when they're young?
I guess so.
I think I've done that.
Now, an intimate situation like that has caused little Jamie to get a crush on his babysitter, but he finds out that she has boyfriend, unfortunately, and he gets very upset.
Jamie? Are you crying?
Yeah, the boyfriend won't be around long. The boyfriend's actually one of the nicer guys in the movie and actually offers to teach the kid how to play football. So the kid lures him out into the woods, and the guy's like, oh, we'll throw the football around. No, Jamie, throws him into the pit. He throws a lot of people into the pit. Pretty much anybody that messes with Jamie gets thrown into the pit. But don't feel too bad for Jamie. He is a weird, awkward little kid, and you can be kind of sympathetic, but he is a little creep as well. I mean, there's a scene where he's like got this tape recorder of his voice, and he's basically got, one of the adult women in the movie. He's heavy breathing on the phone, obscene calling her and getting and threatening her and all this stuff, and getting her to remove her clothing so he can take Polaroids of it. I mean, this little kid's great.
I'm watching you now, Miss Livingston. You could call the police, but then, poor Abigail. And I'd much rather look at you than her. Don't try and fool me. I can see you in the window. What's more important? Being shy or getting Abigail back?
Now, I talked about how he leads everybody out in the woods and throws him into the pit. He also does this with this old woman. She's in a wheelchair. He just wheels her wheelchair through town, all through the woods. Nobody sees this, and puts her into the pit. But check out the music that's playing while he does this. It's like some sort of cartoon or something. But yeah, The Pit is the name of the movie. The little boy Jamie, the actor that plays him, is now a dance instructor. So you can learn the bossa nova from him. He gave up acting like about a year after this movie, which he does play a weird little kid pretty well. Maybe he was a weird kid himself. But yeah, The Pit. If you're looking for something where the main character is a kid that's a little bit twisted, I don't know, I guess evil, but more like just weird and twisted and perverse, check out The Pit from 1981. Also from 1981, the movie Deadly Blessing. It's a Wes Craven movie, a couple of years before he did Nightmare on Elm Street and got super famous. He'd been doing horror movies for a few years at that point, and this movie features only adults. We spent too much time on ghosts of children and children with black fingernails, zombie children and evil kids and weird kids. How about a movie just full of adults? Okay, there are some kids in the movie, but they're not main characters. Deadly Blessing is one of those movies where they have the weird old-time religious group running around and something's happening, and it could be an incubus. From The Hills Have Eyes is in this movie too, chasing around Lisa Hartman. I forgot to mention that. This movie is, I don't know, they keep mentioning an incubus over and over and over again. I don't know if somebody gets paid every time somebody says the word incubus.
Father Isaiah said this place is the incubus.
But it's a lot. It's a lot of incubus references. It's also written out in paint on a wall.
Damn,
I haven't seen acting that dramatic since Florida Evans threw down the punch bowl. That's Doug Barr, by the way, trying to cover up the incubus paint there. He's going to meet with a tragic end. And, there's three beautiful women in this movie who are all nude women in this movie. And they are Susan Buckner, Maren Jensen, and Sharon Stone. And yes, at least two of them works out in the middle of the country in these horror movies, works out just fine. Oh yeah, and Lisa Hartman. Change is going on in town. Not only did the accident that the Douglas Barr character run into, poor Michael Berryman meets his end as well, just looking for a shoe, for God's sakes. All this bad stuff going on, and the old-time religious people led by Ernest Borgnine, they are very, very strict. They're still thinking it's that incubus, but the family don't have to tell him twice, and off he goes. Hang on, whore, I'm a-coming. unfortunately, it doesn't work out very well for him or the woman either. So yeah, there's a lot of mysterious things going on, mysterious deaths. It's revealed in the end to be maybe the last person you would expect it to be. I'm not going to give it away, don't worry. But Deadly Blessing, the Wes Craven movie, kind of a slow mover, but it does have the weird religious kind of stuff and the strict religious Ernest Borgnine character and the incubus. Oh, and if you've got arachnophobia, it does have a spider scene. Now, these have all been pretty good movies that I would recommend so far, and now we're up to one that, I'm not so sure about. It's called Nightmare from 1981, and it's true to the title, though. It does, if you want to see somebody having nightmares, this movie does start out with a guy having a nightmare. And then a few minutes later, he has another nightmare. And this is followed by a third nightmare. And we're only 8 minutes into the movie, and that's with a full credit sequence. Now, the plot of this movie is the guy having the nightmares is some sort of, ex-mental patient who needs to be actually back in the hospital. He is a father who is estranged from his family. In fact, they are on a whole other side of the country to get away from him because they realize, he's probably a dangerous person. And so he decides to escape the mental institution and go ahead and go on the trail to try to get back to them. But before he does, we get some nice shots of early 80s New York City as he goes into a peep show. He gets so excited watching these naked women at the peep show that white stuff just starts coming out of his mouth. It's an interesting twist. After the peep show and, he just goes and kills somebody. Then it's on the road and headed down to see his family. Now, kind of a clever thing here they do in the movie. They show him on the road listening to different radio stations. And each radio station he listens to, the announcer on the radio station is saying what town they're broadcasting from. I thought that was pretty clever. Now, because he's a well-mannered psychotic, he does give his wife a call to let him know that he's on his way. Unfortunately, she's still in bed.
CJ, who was that on the phone?
I don't know. They didn't answer.
It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Who could be calling at this hour? Now, it's about this time that the guys who run the asylum find out that this guy has escaped.
You lose a dangerously psychotic patient from a secret experimental drug program, and all you can say is, I'm sorry?
My bad? Maybe could have said that too. Now we find out while the guy is traveling that his son, we get to know a little more about him and find out that he's a little off kilter as well. In fact, he likes to play some crazy pranks like covering himself in ketchup and claiming that he's been stabbed just to get his mother and her new boyfriend to race home.
Calm down. You're not going to be any help to CJ if you're a nervous wreck. CJ, it's ketchup.
He also plays a sweet little prank on the babysitter.
Nanny, nanny, boo, boo, stick your head and do, do.
So what happens when the stepfather finally gets to his destination? Looks like CJ has to defend himself in a sort of a gory version of Home Alone. The second time I've mentioned that movie during this video for some reason. But yeah, Nightmare is okay. It's a real cheap looking movie. It's real grainy and gritty, and the acting in it isn't very good at all. It's more like a B- grade, I think. It's got some nice moments, but way too much flashing back to what originally caused the main character's trauma. Apparently he saw his mom and dad in bed and having sex, and that's, I guess she tied him up, and that's what freaked the kid out and he turned him into a psycho. So that don't do S&M in front of your kids. Let that be a lesson. But yeah, Nightmare from 1981. you know, maybe, I guess, if you've seen all the other movies 5 times and you're looking for something different, maybe check it out. Maybe you should try this 1981 movie instead. It's called Road Games with Stacy Keach and the aforementioned Jamie Lee Curtis. This one's pretty cool. It's an Australian movie. Yeah, it really gives you a feel of the southern part of Australia where it goes all the way. There's that one lonely road that goes all the way to Perth, and there's like nothing on there. It's just like for miles and miles and miles, nothing but like a desolate area. Well, he is a truck driver driving on that area. And since it's just this one road, he keeps running into the same people all the time. And a lot of them are kind of playing road games with him. There's the motorcyclist dressed all in red that keeps sneezing. There's this obnoxious woman that stretches toilet paper across the road to get him to stop because her husband's had too much of her and just dropped her off.
Wait a minute, miss. I'm sorry. I'm not allowed to pick up hitchhikers.
Oh, I'm not a hitchhiker. I'm not hitchhiking. My idiot husband drove off and left me here. We can catch him if you hurry.
There's also this road rage character that's got a big boat on the back of his car. But for some reason, even with this boat, which I'm assuming costs a little bit of money, he wants to play chicken with everybody. And, well, you can see how that turns out.
Okay, buddy, if that's the way you want it.
Now, the main plot of the movie is that the Stacy Keach truck driver character, who, by the way, is traveling with his dingo friend.
Hors d'oeuvre?
He thinks he has witnessed some sort of murder or post-murder thing where this mysterious guy has got garbage bags full of female victims' bodies and is trying to bury them in different places or put them in the garbage and having them collected or whatever. So he's kind of keeping an eye on this guy and keeps running into him as well. A little over a half hour into the movie, he does finally pick up Jamie Lee Curtis, and they kind of bond. They're talking in the truck. There's nothing else to do but talk about this possible killer that's on the road. I think he's on the radio. I think they're talking about him on the radio, so, you know, he's known. But Stacy Keach is thinking that he's seen this guy, and he's going to try to stop the murders. And Jamie Lee Curtis is a little skeptical. But once they stop at this one place and they think that he's there, Jamie Lee Curtis actually goes snooping around in his vehicle and gets caught. Stacy Keach comes out of the restroom to discover that Jamie Lee Curtis and the van she was snooping in is gone, and so the chase is on. As he continues driving, he gets more and more tired, starts having hallucinations. Where is this killer on the loose? What in the world happened to his new friend, Jamie Lee Curtis? What's the deal with the sneezing red biker? What, God, is that obnoxious woman going to ever go away? Is she going to reunite with her husband? What's the deal with that? You know, Road Games is a really good movie. It's got some nice Australian feel to it. It's pretty suspenseful. And it's kind of a nice twist on the general slasher thing, because you've got the mystery, you've got the slasher thing, but you've also got a road movie tied all together. So it's pretty cool stuff. Road Games from 1981, I would definitely recommend that one. And as we move on to our only movie in this video from 1982, and that is Death Valley. It starts off with Messy Marvin and this fucking guy walking through the streets of New York. Now this guy, by the way, is Messy Marvin's father. And he's trying to convince him, okay, yes, you should go off to Death Valley with your mom and her new boyfriend. He's great. Turns out the new boyfriend is actually the Wish.com version of Dwight Yoakam, and he's a pretty nice guy. He's really trying to befriend the boy and hopes everything will work out, but the boy, you know, Messy Marvin's kind of a little brat and doesn't want to have anything to do with him. Now, the first thing that fake Dwight Yoakam does to try to impress the little kid is give him a toy gun, and no, it's not a Red Ryder BB gun, and he does not shoot his eye out. It's a little pistol that the guy says used to belong to Billy the Kid, but the kid knows wiser. That's not Billy the Kid's gun. You know, it could be worse. The mom could have given him a possessed doll. Suddenly, the little kid realizes that they're being followed by Christine's cousin from the poor side of the family, apparently. And they follow them all the way to Death Valley. Now, once they get there, they let the little kid just kind of go off on his own. These are 80s parents. The kids just could go off on their own. And the kid decides, oh, I'll just go look in this RV. I'll just break into this thing and have a look around in these people's RV. He doesn't see that there's 2 dead bodies in there. He totally misses that. They've just been killed in the previous scene. But he does steal a necklace from the RV. Now, they get to a restaurant, and he notices that the waiter, who looks kind of evil, has the same necklace on that the little boy just stole from the RV. They're identical necklaces, so what's going on there? Well, now all of a sudden the RV has been crashed and burned up, and the bodies are burned in there, and the sheriff is on the scene, and the little boy decides to come clean and confess to stealing the necklace.
Sheriff, I stole something from that RV. And now I want to turn myself in, even if it means 99 years.
Well, why don't you just give me back what you stole, and maybe we can skip the 99 years.
Because it's the right thing to do and the tasty way to do it. Now, back in the tourist town, they're putting on fake gunfights in the middle of the street for family entertainment. I remember these. I went to the Lake of the Ozarks when I was just about the same age as this little kid in the movie is, and they would do that. Cowboys would be out in the middle of the street shooting each other with blanks, and they'd fall over, and everybody, yay! It's like, what? And then the Civil War reenactments. I remember those too. You ever had to go to one of those as a little kid? Most boring thing ever. Everybody would be on their costumes and would be dressed up like the Confederate soldiers and the Yankee soldiers, and the North and the South are going to battle it out, and muskets, and just, oh my God, it was so boring. Are you having fun, Bobby? No, not really. Oh yeah, I'm having a blast. So glad I'm getting to watch a reenactment of the Civil War. Is there a roller coaster around here somewhere? Is there a record store I can go to? Damn. Anyway, so yeah, that's going on. But the little kid decides to go out on his own. And in a general store, they had those two. Those were actually kind of cool. But the general store, and he meets this cowboy, and he's not a player. He's the killer.
I got you. Fall down. Okay, you want to play? I'll play with you.
Yeah, that's what, I mean, it's the 80s. That's what happened. Little kids just went off and played with strange men, and nothing bad ever happened. So yeah, that's the killer. He gets away, though, and yeah, the killer goes and kills some more people, just seemingly randomly, some of them including a babysitter with a serious sweet tooth.
Here, you got the right to be talking about Buddy.
All right, Crab.
So let me just see if I can understand this, because I'm not a parent, and I certainly wasn't a parent in the early 80s. It's okay for a little kid to keep going off on his own in a tourist town full of out-of-town strangers, but when the kid is alone in a locked hotel room, that's when he needs a babysitter, so mom and dad could go out dancing. Got it. Pretty soon the killer is after the kid realizes it, the parents realize it, the killer's dancing on the roof.
504 in London!
And it's a game of cat and mouse. Who's gonna catch who? What about that twist ending? And there is one. Check out Death Valley from 1982. I definitely recommend it. That is Road Games. Okay, so the last movie is from 1983. And by the way, 2 more videos coming up that'll feature the mid-80s, and then the third one features the late 80s. So as far as we go in this one is the year 1982, but it is the movie Sleepaway Camp. Now this is a little bit of a notorious movie. This is you know, they're at camp, everybody's getting killed, but it's definitely not your typical camp killing movie. This one has certain elements in it that are a little different than what you'll find in most of those movies. And I'm not going to give away the ending, but I will tell you this. if you plan on watching Sleepaway Camp and you've never seen it before, don't learn anything about it. Don't go to International Movie Database. Don't go to Wikipedia. Don't read anything about it. Just go into it knowing nothing, and that'll be much better for you. If you read about it and you read anything in, it'll spoil it. Just don't do that. So yeah, you've got everybody screaming, either screaming directions or screaming because they're excited. You've got camp counselors that look like they're the same age as some of the kids, except for the main guy that owns the place. He's obviously a lot older, and I just want to mention that actor actually passed away like before the movie was even released. Unfortunately, died of cancer, but he was a trooper and made the movie, so hats off to him. But yeah, everybody's excited. They're at camp and woohoo! And there's this creep there, and he's talking about, well,
where I come from, we call them baldies. Makes your mouth water, don't it?
Artie, they're too young to even understand what's on your mind.
Then, good buddy, there ain't no such thing as being too young. You're just too old.
Everybody just laughs that off. Wow. Don't worry though. He's the first one that gets it in this movie, and we get a real close up of his big ass for some reason. Now, the main character in this movie is a little girl named Angela, and she's been through a lot. She's been through some trauma, so she doesn't talk a lot.
Angela,
in fact, she doesn't talk
we're all
at
going
all.
down to the lake tonight, for a little swim. And, well, we were kind of wondering if you wanted to join us or something.
A pro takeover. Listen, Angela, let's say, me and you go for a little walk somewhere. What do we talk about tonight, huh?
What's the matter? Can't you talk? I told you she was playing with half a deck. Angela the Nutcake. Ain't that right, Angela? Ain't you Looney Tunes?
Sleepaway Camp, a movie from 1983. So a lot of guys walking around in very short shorts.
Make yourself useful and bring me home, huh?
Now, for those of you who did not grow up in the 80s or are not from the 80s, you may see movies like this, and from the early 80s, you may wonder, like, what is the deal with these tiny shorts that guys wear? How are they wearing these shorts without, their genitals just falling out of them? Well, here's the thing. In the early 80s, guys didn't wear boxer shorts. Those were not a thing. And the bikini boxers and things like that, those were not around. The compression shorts, those weren't a thing. Only old men wore boxers in the 80s. Guys, teenage guys wore either tighty whities or really tight bikini underwear. And you really had to if you were going to wear these skimpy little shorts, because otherwise you'd be exposing yourself pretty much. Some of these are super short. And if they weren't, like the jean shorts, they'd cut the jeans so that, they'd be as short as possible. I don't know what people were thinking then. I was around then. I don't know what I was thinking then. I just know that, like, if you wore let's say you weren't a very hygienic teenager, right? And sometimes you wore your underwear for multiple days and it would get, like, loose. Sometimes you'd be, like, running, like in gym class, and one of your balls would fall out. That's the kind of thing that would happen. Or, like, half your penis would be out of your pants. Oh, whoops, whoops. That's the kind of thing that, I don't know who decided it was a good idea to start making shorts this tiny, but that's the deal with early 80s shorts. You had to have bikini underwear. They had to be tight. They couldn't be loose and out of shape or whatever, or sometimes your balls would just fall out of your shorts. And sometimes when you sat down and you did the man spreading thing, there'd be the balls. One ball on each side. Tiny little shorts. And, I do miss a lot of things from the 80s. I do not miss super tight bikini underwear and tiny little shorts. I digress. Back to the movie Sleepaway Camp from 1983. It's kind of a different kind of ending. Again, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but to get there, you get the typical, people getting killed off in various ways. Oh no, who done it? Type of thing. But one thing in the ending is the policeman with the mustache. And there's a whole story about him. The policeman in the beginning of the movie has a real mustache, and then the actor, for some reason, decided to shave off his mustache halfway through the movie. when you're in a movie, you don't do that. I think most actors know that. This guy didn't know that. So then they had to put a fake mustache on him in the end of the movie, and it looks like somebody just cut a piece out of a piece of dark felt and put it on his face. Like, there was no costume shop around that had fake mustaches. There was no novelty store where you could buy a fake mustache. That's the worst fake mustache I think I've ever seen in a movie. But yeah, Sleepaway Camp, check it out. It's a little bit of a different ending. A lot of guys in short shorts, a lot of guys in tighty whities, guys skinny dipping from behind, guys grabbing their junk. Definitely recommend Sleepaway Camp. And that's going to do it for the early 80s. We're going to get into more into 1983 and the years that follow that in the next video, the sequel. Hopefully I'll be able to make that, and you'll hopefully check it out. Once again, I'm Robert Fithen, usually talking about records and videos, or records and music. This is a different kind of video for me, so if you're part of the vinyl community and you're used to watching my other videos, I appreciate you watching this all the way to the end. If you're new to my channel, maybe you watch some of my older videos about music and enjoy those as well, but I do have 2 more coming up all about 80s horror. Thanks again for watching, and hopefully I will talk to you again soon.